to welcome to Unspoken Tears, a Voice of Men 360 monthly show. I'd like to remind that Voice of 360's mission is always to deliver with good faith towards peaceful harmony. The view and opinions expressed on total episodes are those of the speakers and do not represent Voice of Men 360. Organization engages in discussion forums to offer inspiration, create awareness of issues of men who wish to overcome their life challenges. We're not providing medical or therapeutic advice. Should you require this type of assistance, we recommend you contact a medical professional immediately. If you have questions or concerns of today's episodes or any of the content, please contact Voice of Men 360. My name is Dave Rogers, and I am the host of Unspoken Tears, a topic that is very dear to my heart because I have been somebody who had shame and embarrassment when I talked about tears. As a youngster, my eyes just started to leak, and I didn't understand it. As a young professional, I would get emotional when I saw events about teamwork, about collaboration, about overcoming hurdles. I would often find solace in an airplane where I could be at one with my tears as I watched shows as riveting as The Mighty Ducks or a Disney show. It triggered something in me that led to tears. I became a student of the tears. I tasted the tears. I asked questions about the tears, and I have come now one with the tears. And right now, gentlemen, ladies, if you're still faced with embarrassment and shame about tears, my invitation is to talk to the tears, taste the tears, be grateful for the tears. Perhaps the metaphor that tears are like the raindrops into the oceans of healing might help you to let go of self-judgment, to honor your body, your mind, your spirit, to look for ways that you take the most difficult and most traumatic experiences and transform the meaning that you give. And so today in Unspoken Tears, I am thrilled to be with somebody who I admire so much, somebody who I've collaborated with, visited places, whether it's a forest or it's a funeral or it's Bali or it's Canada. Somebody who has been on a journey that I've so respected as I've learned each time I get a chance to meet with her, talk to her. There's a learning, there's a discovery, whether we're hitting golf balls or doing workshops, coaching, mentoring, or even celebrating the passing or transitioning of a beloved. It's my great honor to welcome Deb Maybury. I will always be fine-tuning that pronunciation. In fact, I will even ask her at times, Deb, remind me how to say your family name. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Unspoken Tears. Share a little bit about yourself, because I'm going to play off of a lot of your answers today, because we do. We love to bounce ideas off and explore possibilities. This topic today is about overcoming challenges. Welcome, 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 Deb.
Thanks, Dave. That's quite an introduction. Good morning. It seems really early in the morning. Didn't get a lot of sleep last night, but I'm really looking forward to the show this morning. And the last name is Maybury. It's actually, if you read it, Maybury is actually pronounced exactly the way it is spelled, but people get confused with that Opie and Andy show, I think in the 1960s. Those of us of this generation, and I'm called Maybury a lot, but it is Maybury. Thank you for asking. I do appreciate that. And I'm looking forward to being on the show. We've done a lot together in the past, most recently, celebrating some really good food and conversation. So it's always fun to get together.
Absolutely, Deb. And again, you're a creative person. You're a deep person. You're a lifelong learner. And today I really wanted to explore some of our strategies, some of your strategies of overcoming challenges. The idea that you as a athlete, for instance, had some ups and downs. In fact, I'm going to step back a little bit because I'm going to go to your name a little bit. Share a little bit about your relationship with your name, because there are people right now that are struggling with their relationship with their name. They actually, some people I've met in the past, they actually say to them, I hate my name. And so can you imagine being that person who hates their name? So when you talk about your name, and you've corrected me a few times, and it's been beautiful, because that's the type of rapport and respect that we want to be able to speak our truth together. And I found that having conversations with you are so liberating, because I can say my truth, you can say your truth, and we can acknowledge that maybe they're a little bit apart. Yet when you hear your name and it's said wrong, you actually have the courage to mention that to people. Many people have that relationship with their name that drops them down, perhaps into embarrassment or shame, and gets them stuck in a cycle of self-defecating as opposed to uplifting. Share a little bit about that, please, Deb.
Well, sure. I started as Debbie, and then there was a period of time where Deborah really sounded good for me, and it's actually my painting name. So on all my portraits or paintings, even going back into the 80s, and I didn't paint for 30 years, and I've reconnected with that. But I just put Deborah on there, the full version of my name. And now I'm more Deb. My professional name is Deb Maybury. I was always very connected with Debbie, Deb, and Deborah, and I will respond to any of them quite happily. The last name has been pronounced incorrectly for the majority of my life, and I always was confused why people couldn't just read it as it was laid out very clearly. But that's who I am. That's who I grew up being, because as you know, I was actually adopted. And when I found my birth name, Ruth, I was completely disconnected with that name. And I know when I met my birth mom, it's like Ruth, like, ooh, Ruth, but it was a name that was special to her, but it's not a name that I connect with. And I think that's really important. One of the biggest challenges with the clients that I see right now, it's a repeated theme. It's like, I don't know who I am. Now, I don't think our name is exactly who we are, but I think there is an impact. There's an energetic impact. The kids that would have those kind of weird names, like a boy's name I think of, would be Dick. And the teasing that particular individual had was immense. Versus a name maybe like a Summer or something that was unique and kind of a cool name. I think it starts a child out in a different way in life, and whether or not they connect to that, there's a lot of factors that are combined, but certainly a child that is teased relentlessly by other children regarding their name is going to struggle with their name and have a disconnect. Or the name can just be something that somebody just doesn't resonate with at all. And I know a handful of people, without even thinking, that have changed their name to try to find themselves through the name, the sort of the external versus in here, or they find in here and then the name doesn't represent that, so they change that. So it's actually a really interesting question or topic.
Well, I love the topic, and I'm really inviting our listeners, because Debbie, and Deborah are going to go through Deborah. See, this is what's beautiful, is that when you be corrected, that is part of having an opportunity to see the world in other people's eyes too. And so when we're comfortable in our own skin, other people giving us some feedback can often be very useful. And one of the things I'm inviting people to do this year is, if you want to experiment with some other names, allow yourself to experiment. Allow yourself to have some fun. Deborah, is that right? Deborah, as an artist, might have this opportunity when she steps in. It's like the paints are flowing. And when I'm doing poetry, my poetry name is, as you see, my name's Dave Rogers. My poetry name is Devi Roja Ananda. And that comes from India, because when I was in India, people would go, hey, Devi Roja. And I kind of look my name's Dave Rogers. And I could be a hard ass and actually pound people for it, or kind of find the humor in it. Now it's very humorous. And my latest book, I've actually written, AKA Devi Roja Ananda, for my poetry book to help men and boys establish their creativity. And one of the things that we often bounce is creativity. So, Deb, you are a psychotherapist, you're an author, you're an athlete, you're multitask. And that's another thing that I'm inviting people today, is that you can be so much more than the little job that you might be doing and beating yourself on, and you can be able to explore possibilities. So I put together ABC, and I can you pick ABC? Actually, I added a D. So pick a topic, and I know I shared some questions with you. We're doing a slight pivot, yet it's very similar. Overcoming challenges and looking for ways to have new strategies. So giving you the choice, A, B, C, or D.
Well, I'll take D since we're talking about names. So it makes sense that I selected D.
And it is funny because D is the first topic we wanted to chat about, because I did some research and I found out that biggest challenges for people are in these three areas. So it is healthiness, it is wealthiness, and it is wisdom. D is pick one of those to start our conversation, Deb. Healthy, wealthy, or wise?
Well, I think this thing that I see the most often would have to do with health, physical health, mental health, spiritual health. So I'll select that one.
Excellent. So again, fitness is often the thing that people are getting into at this time of year. They're starting some new strategies. Would you share, people who are facing those challenges with fitness, what would be 2 or 3 of Deb's strategy? Because again, I actually happen to know them, because it's beautiful, because we talk about fitness quite a bit, and you have a scale of fitness for yourself because you've bicycled across Canada. So there's people that would say, like, if I could ride a bicycle, I'd be thrilled. So when we're talking about general guidance to assist people overcome challenges with fitness, what would be 1 or 2 or maybe 3 tips from Deb?
Well, I think it originates in an individual's belief systems, sort of what they've grown up with. So if the parents didn't put them in sports, or they had bad experience in sports, or they focus on the effort that it would take, or the time. I don't have time. That's kind of like saying, well, I'm not going to nurture my body with water or with any food, in a sense. Now, some people, they don't actually, because of time. But with fitness, I think it's like anything. Everybody knows fitness is important. Everybody knows that they will reap the rewards if your body is stronger. I'm just specifically talking about the body. You will breathe deeper. Your blood will circulate better. Your body is going through a range of motions. You will have more muscle mass. You will have more flexibility. And you will overall feel better when your body feels better. The same thing with your mind. If you nurture your mind, whether you're reading or challenging yourself with courses or whatnot, you will feel better. You will be stimulated. The mind and the body are, parts of us, like a computer. They're turned on. And when we feed them with nurturing components, then they thrive. And the one thing that I hear over and over again, I don't like fitness, or, I don't want to go to the gym, or I don't this, I don't. And right away, there's the negative bias in the brain, putting all the obstacles and challenges there. If you think too much about anything, you probably won't do anything. So it's really feeding and nurturing it. And like I say to people, just don't think. So you could, for example, if you were trying to train yourself, New Year's resolution, right? So you're trying to train yourself to do anything, do a small thing. So every morning, get up and have water. I have this in front of me. It's a cup, but it's water. So exactly. So you get up and you drink that water every morning. Now, all you do is you reach to the sky with both hands, and then one hand and the other hand. Then you look to your right, you look to your left. That's it. That's what you start with. And you do that every single day. And then that's a portion of something called Badwa Jin, which is a form, which is activating every muscle, every organ in your body just by the way you turn and twist. Excuse me. It literally takes maybe 30 seconds to go through that process. And I do it 3 times in the morning after I have the water. And I don't think about it, because if I think about it, and I've just recently gone back to doing it. I used to do it years ago and I kind of forgot about it. But if you don't think about it, it's the 5-second rule, right? Mel Robbins, 5-second rule. You think about it. And if you don't think about it, you set your alarm. And that means that you think about it. And then you just do it. You go and you do it. The people that I work with primarily that are struggling, it's because they're not engaging their mind, body, spirit combination, and they don't have things that they enjoy doing. But we can't just do things that you can't just sit and watch TV all day because you like it. You're not going to feel healthy. Anyways, that's a long-winded response.
So it's a great response, Deb. And I guess let me personalize it a little bit. Share with us 3 or 4 of your Deb strategies for fitness, wellness, and you've shared some of them yet. Maybe just ABC. What's your recipe for fitness for this year?
It actually began in 1993 when I decided I needed to go and sign up for martial arts. It's February the 2nd, 1993. Crazy that I remember that. What I decided at that point is that I am going to go 3 times a week. No excuses. And that's where it started in, because I joined a gym before, and I actually joined it and never went, not one time, not once. I was about 20 years old. So that was, my belief system was created. There's no option of not doing it. I am doing it. And I put it down as those days, and I just do it. So for example, cycling, I cycle year round. In order to do that, I bought a big wheel bike, Canadian Tire Special, $400, I think it was, 3 years ago. And I don't think about it. It's on my list, my tick. I have a board, like a tick on my calendar. The 4 corners of my calendar, there's a little tip. So I do have a real paper calendar. So like a child, I can get the reward. So every day I will cycle, right? So after I cycle, I come back and I just circle that. And then every day I'm going to do my Badwa Jin in the morning 3 times through. And I tick that off. I go to the calendar. I tick that. And this is things that just people say, oh, that's too. It takes a second. We waste more time scrolling. The average person now, I think it's up to 3 hours a day on this. I have no social media on my phone. That's another one. It's taking away. It's not only adding on, but it's eliminating the things that aren't really serving you mind, body, and spiritually. They're not feeding or nurturing your growth, your enjoyment, your pleasure. One of the big things that people come to me when they're depressed, low energy, unsatisfied, struggling with the who am I ask them, first question I ask, so I'm creating a list here. So what is it that you're doing that you enjoy doing every day or that you love to do? And their eyes go up like they're searching, right? Well, I love cycling. That's me. That's my thing. Other people like going to gym. Other people go to yoga. Other people are motivated. I went to a gym in martial arts over 20 years, martial arts / fitness. The camaraderie, you build those connections. A lot of people join a team because then there's no choice. You got to go. You sign up, you have to go. You're responsible to that team, or racquetball, you have a partner, or golfing, like we go golfing now. And, that's going to be a new thing for me this year because we kind of tickled that golfing thing in me that I haven't done in 20 some years, at least 20 years. So if you can find something that you do like, then it's easier. But you don't have to like things. There are people say, oh, I don't like it. I don't. Yeah, but you're doing things every day that you don't like. The majority of you, most of you are in a job you're doing every day that you don't like. And yet you do it because you see the reward financially. But would you rather have money? If you had 2 choices, Dave, would you rather have money or your health?
Health is number 1, 2, and 3. Because if you have ever not had your health, you know how important it is.
Exactly.
And so folks, that's what I guess what I love about what Deb's sharing is she's got these step-by-step approaches to change your habits, start new habits, make it fun, make it easy, make it so that it's giving you the opportunity to be kind to yourself, to reward yourself. Because if you can be playful with it, it's going to be something you're going to do more of. And so when we're talking about healthiness and fitness, there's this element of being curious, and you've got to start, if you want to shift it, nutrition might be another way. Like water is a key component to nutrition, right, Deb? Eating some healthy foods and some vegetables and some activities that allow you to have a different relationship with eating. It's a newness to it, yet it's really you looking for ways to do things that might be playful to you. They're funny to you. Like Deb checking the little boxes. I can see her doing it, but they're going like, this is really peculiar, yet it's fun. And I know it works because it gets me results. And that's what we're asking you to do, folks, is if you want to start changing some of your habits, I picking off of what Deb's saying, I did the 1-month membership at Brampton gyms at $35 for a senior. And I've been 23 of the last 25 days.
Awesome.
And it's getting up at 5:30 in the morning, getting up at 6 in the morning, shoveling the driveway, and then going to the gym, doing really weird stuff. If you went there, you'd see the weird guy walking around like a monkey, because those are fun things for me, reminding of Bali and Singapore. And so this idea of starting new habits, being curious about new habits. And Deb was also, because she's been one who's been listening to a lot of audiobooks, right, Deb?
Oh my goodness, yeah. And the other thing is, when you say that, is you have to put it in your schedule. It has to be a priority, because you're going to pay for it now, or you're going to pay for it later. So you either invest the time now, right? Now you could be 21, or you could be 61, but you start investing the time now, because otherwise you're going to pay for it later, because your health will decline. And we know if our immunity system is stronger, we're eating better, we will have a healthier life for a longer period of time, for the most part. Yes, audiobooks. So here's the thing too. So I've got a dog, and actually it's been 10 years since I put my last dog down. I was just popped in my mind yesterday, and I waited until 7 years before getting another dog because of the commitment. And I wanted a little dog, and I wanted to have that dog as sort of a lap dog for then clients, when clients would come to see me. Now we dropped into COVID, and I'm still not seeing people in person, but he's my lap dog. And what happened though was I had a real challenge, because my other dog, you just take him out 2 times a day, basically, he did his business, and I came back. This guy's scratching at the door. He wants to go out 5 times a day. He wants to go out more, but that's what I'm down to, is 5 times a day. Like I said, he woke me up, I don't even know, like 6:30 or something this morning, which is too early on a Saturday morning for me, not you, but for me. So I was out walking him, and I was getting resentful. I was questioning why I got him. I found that we weren't bonding the same. There was something going on. And I thought, okay, he has literally a walnut pea head for his prefrontal cortex. And I have this massive prefrontal cortex. And what are my options here? And I thought, I need to change my attitude around walking, because I'm not a walker. I don't like walking. I want to cycle hard. I want to play fitness hard. I want to do something. Walking, to me, hiking, that's just not my thing. I'll go hike once in a while. It's not my thing. I needed something. I knew I needed to change my mindset. So I thought, what can I do while I'm walking that my brain is focused? So I started listening to Audible books. It'll be 2 years in April. I'm on my way to 300 books. So I'm not even joking that it has changed my life. It has changed me personally. It has changed my knowledge level. It has changed, more than anything, the pleasure of going out and walking with my dog. I'll walk further if I'm near the end of a chapter, just so I can listen to the chapter. I listen when I prepare my food. I listen when I clean up. I listen when I paint. The first day of the year, I painted for about 13 hours, 14, no, it must have been longer, about 14 hours that day. And I listened to 2 full books that day. And they were pleasure, because I divide them in, to the categories that I enjoy. It's changed my life. So something like that, right? You get motivated, and then so what? You don't like to walk? If you like to read, what can you link it with? And there's so many different ways. And one thing is support. Get a coach or a therapist. Get rid of some of these blocks around loving yourself and loving your body and appreciating the outdoors. Like, where are the people outside these days? That's a whole other issue. Get outside. If your energy is low, you create your energy. You don't snap your fingers and have this life force that explodes. You need to systematically create a pattern and an energy trail in your life whereby that comes naturally. And that is a practice. Fitness is not a one-off or a two-off, just like a state of being, a mental wellness. It's not a one-off. It's an ongoing practice. That's why they say the practice of yoga or the practice of meditation. It's not a one thing. If you were on medication, for example, for depression, you don't take that once a month. So you can't nurture your soul and your fitness level once a month or once in a while, because then you won't like it. And that's for sure.
So let's make that transition, because what we've done there is we really had a nice deep dive into fitness and wellness and rituals and behaviors and beliefs and daily activities and linking playfulness and measuring, scorecarding, being kind to yourself, experimenting. That is a wonderful strategy. I'm inviting anyone who's with us today, take down some notes, write down what resonates with you, go and taste it as your recipe for your fitness strategy. To maybe take it to the next level, what Deb's saying, go get a coach for a week or a month. It will transform your way of looking at it. She made a beautiful transition to my second topic today about wisdom. She shared the elixir for the 21st century. Get interested in podcasts, in audiobooks. Start being curious. You've got the whole world there. They can teach you almost anything you want to learn. That's the thing, Deb, that you linked for me is I'm walking in the gym. I'm listening to Tim Ferriss. I'm listening to Mario Forleo. I'm listening to all of this wisdom from around the world. So I've done like 23 books and I've been taking notes and I'm writing it. I'm so excited because by the time I'm finished a half an hour, 50-minute walk or run or cycling, it's like I want to take my notes because it's such great wisdom. And so the section we're transitioning to is wisdom. Share a little bit more, Deb, because again, you are one of these people, when you get on a stream, go become a black belt in martial arts. Go become a psychotherapist. Take your business around the world. That's been part of your strategy, assisting some people right now who might be on those edges of bipolar or, beating themselves up, shame, guilt. Perhaps they're in a rut because someone has passed over. In the pursuit of wisdom, Deb, again, what would be some steps that can assist people, or maybe share? I love the fact that you've been in your audiobooks for 2 years, 300 books. What would be the tip or guidance to get someone started in something? Say, oh, I don't like that. I don't like that. What would be that bridge or strategy to get started?
Nike said it best, right? Just do it. And we have the capacity to learn. And, my philosophy has always been go learn and go share. And when we share, then we ingrain what we have learned. And this becomes a cycle of shared information. And for me, there have been times when I'm like, I'm not sure if I'm going to like this or not like this. But my learning has been so much just jump in. If I'm curious at all, if I'm interested, if I'm playful about something, or if I'm really afraid of something, it's to jump in. When I was accepted to ride across Canada in the Sears National Kids Cancer Ride, now it's just the Kids Cancer Ride, but I jumped up that I was accepted because there was this whole application form to fill out. I wasn't a cyclist, by the way. Nada. Had not been on a bike for years. I jumped up, and when I hit the floor, I was like, what did I do? That quickly, my brain wanted to take me out. So I've trained myself to not listen to the naysayer that is in me. And I'll ask myself, who is that? Like, whose voice is that? Who's the naysayer in there? And if I'm curious about anything at all, and again, even if I'm afraid, I want to do it. I believe in experiential learning. So jumping in and trying it. And you did this, Dave, like with your painting and drawing, you were somebody actually, I think, ignited something within myself, when you were talking about you were drawing and you were painting and you were not a creative child, or you were when you were little, but then you got away from that and you're labeled as not that individual. Whereas where I was always doing something like that, except for a few periods. But I mean, I spent 30 years as a graphic artist. So I was engaged in that all the time. And yet there you are, you're drawing and painting, and I'm the one that's supposed to be doing this. And I was so inspired. And I think there was something in there a year ago in November when I started back with oil painting that was like, hello, wake up, Deb. Wake up. So I always ask people, one of the wisest things you can ask yourself is, what do you love to do? And people, I hear this all the time again. There isn't really anything, I don't really have any hobbies. What did you do naturally as a child? What did you love to do when you were like, 4 feet tall or 3 feet tall? What did you play with? I was always drawing. I was always playing things. I would take like playing cards too, and I would put them into like family situations, and they would talk to each other, before I had the Best of the West and the Barbie dolls and those kinds of things, but they were always engaging conversations. And what do I love? My, Unlock the Door is all about interviewing 39 people. The current book that I'm working on, one of them, because there's more than one, but it's interviewing teachers and psychotherapists. And you and I, did Pray Love together. And when I'm talking to other people, I love talking back and forth. That's what I love to do. So how do I structure that into my day-to-day? Well, I went back and became a psychotherapist, and I'm loving it. And I wonder why, right? So the wisdom is tap into what you naturally do or what you're curious about, and don't let your fear, people say, I don't have enough money to go and join, the golf club or something like that. Yeah, it does add up. If you want to play at a decent golf course, for sure. So go buy one club and go into your backyard, or go to a park. Now, you can't usually hit balls in a park, but you can swing the club, get a plastic ball, go play mini putt or something like that. Go spend $10 or $15 on a bucket of balls, $10 for a small bucket of balls. And I think there's 40 balls. Go and hit some balls, work an extra hour a week. There are ways. I just don't believe when people say, I absolutely can't do that. There are certain times I appreciate, there are challenges in people's life. However, there is another form of, it's kind of like that line where, so you manifest. I want to manifest that in my life. I want to manifest golfing every week, or I want to manifest, $1,000 in order to take that course. I want to manifest that. Well, you say, I want to manifest that or more. And then you break it down and break it down and break it down. If I have a huge challenge or problem, clients come to me like this, I either have to stay in this relationship or I have to get out of this relationship. And I would say, really, it's either this or that. When there's so many options, but when you're emotionally charged, you're not in a good place to make decisions. And we've all done that, rash decisions when we're emotionally charged, and we usually kind of regret part of them. So, but it's not this or that. And we want to minimize the charge around it and drop down into our heart, because, when you have a memory, the absence of the charge in the memory is wisdom. So if we can slow, and I know I talk fast, but if we can slow everything down and take our baseline down, and if I had my love list of what I wanted to do, what would I do? And when I do that innate wisdom where we resonate higher. We draw opportunities and people into our lives that make our dreams come true. We take action steps. If I want something, we, like, I already have it set out this year, the course that I'm going to take, the thread of courses that I'm going to take to add to my practice. It's already there. And now it's just designing how and when I'm going to do that. But it's already impressed. So I've already, I used to listen, people say it costs a lot for a book, and you can spend $25, $35 for a book. Okay. Not everybody can do that, but you can go to the library for free. There are so many, and you could speak to that, Dave. There are so many opportunities in the community where meetup groups, you can go and you can hike and you can do different things. There are so many opportunities now. The internet, with all the downfalls of it and social media, the upside is that if you can go to the library, you can access anything. You can learn about anything that you want to. It is simply feeling that you are valuable. I am valuable, and I want to do this. And this is what I'm going to do, because that's a transferable skill, and it'll show up in all your relationships. If you're happier doing something healthy that you love, I'm not talking about the unhealthy things like, gambling and things like that. It's something that you love that is progressive in terms of your health and stimulating. That's gonna be reflected in all your relationships. Unhappy people do unhappy things. They say unhappy things.
So we're going to invite people, this as part of overcoming challenges. There's an element of slowing down to speed up. There's an element of go and be a student of breath work so that you can actually regulate your body, your mind, your breath. There's an opportunity here to go and learn in new ways. So if you were traumatized at school because you had a diagnosis of ADHD or you got learning disabilities, it probably means that you're artistic, or you're a dancer or a singer, or look for ways to perhaps explore your new relationship with wisdom. And I love what you said, Deb, about often wisdom drops when you get into a surrender, into a peace state, into a prayer state, and it's right before you fall asleep that the wisdom drops. You've gone through 300 books, Deb. Are there 1, 2, or 3 that might help people who are really looking for some ways? So I'm looking for sort of those beginner ones that assist with the transition from being that person who beats themselves out all the time, the negative self-talk. I'm stupid. I'm dumb. I'm an idiot. I can't learn. Are there 1 or 2 or 3 books that you might recommend or suggest?
Well, sure. So the first thing is, why is a person going there? So a book called I Mind, I can't remember the author, but I Mind is about the internet and the influence of the phone and all the devices. And it's rewiring people's brainwaves. And a lot of people don't get that, the seriousness of this and the impact. And I think that if you want to achieve anything, you need a healthy brain. And we need to nurture our brain and care for our brain. And we need connections. We are an animal. People are animals, and we're a pack animal, a tribe animal, and we thrive off each other. And right now there's more and more of a distance between the members of the tribe. And there's a false belief that people are part of your tribe, but they're not. They're the people that you don't know. They're out there. And that book highlights so many important factors of getting back to the basics and getting away, getting away from so much screen time, because it is debilitating. It's really impacting people. So another one, book I mentioned was, I mentioned it earlier, and that's the 5-Second Rule by Mel Robbins. And it's like, so often we get ideas, you hear about all those people that had an idea for Rubik's Cube, but they never did it. You know what? I had an idea in the 80s called iShop. You know what that is now, right? Skip the dishes and all of that. I had that idea in the 80s, and I never did it or developed it. We have ideas all the time, or we have a thought where, oh, I should go get that glass of water, I forgot earlier, and then we delay it and we don't do it. Or I should, that intuition, oh, I should call my mom or somebody, and then we don't. And so it's a 5-second rule. So if you have that thought, you do it. And I've been doing it. I read that book maybe a month ago. It wasn't that long ago. It was one of the free versions. That's the other thing with Audible. People say I can't afford one book, $15 a month, but there are hundreds of free books on there. I'm not buying all these books. No, my bank account would be empty. The majority of them are free. And this is the thing that people say it's not accessible. Well, if $15 is accessible to you, and it is, I would think, for most people, then you can have hundreds of books for free. So Mel Robbins, you get an idea and you act on it immediately, whatever it is. I should be writing today. So you turn and you start writing. You have to engage in 5 seconds. It's like you never, and I stopped hitting the snooze on my phone because of this in the morning. Like, you can't go back to bed. You plow out of bed. You got 5 seconds to get up. That's the decision. So that book is a really it just emphasized more of who I am. Another book, kind of along the line of the challenges, maybe with the theme, Dave. I believe that building resiliency, we can listen to other people's stories, and biographies are really powerful. And I love Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. And that's, you talk about the wisdom too and the challenge. It's very deep, deep, deep. It is about the Holocaust, so it may be difficult for some people to listen to, but depending on which frame of mind you come upon that book, it demonstrates the resiliency that we are all born with, and we all have that within us, and to nurture that and strengthen that through biographies such as that. And I could list 20 biographies, David Goggins, something hurt me or something, the challenges, and that's fitness and everything that he went through to get out of overeating, sitting. And now he does these, what are they called? These challenges, these crazy events where you run ultra. Yeah. You run for 24 hours or 72 hours and I don't, I'm not advocating people doing that, because it's kind of the opposite of, you can damage your body doing that too. But somebody like that who really just decided to do it one day and completely changed his life. A story like Jewel, Broken Horses, I think is the name of her book. She's a Canadian singer, and coming from all the challenges that she had and following, a dream through all the challenges, the biographies, even people like Julie Andrews and Alice Cooper. I mean, I just listened to so many, Ted Kennedy, the whole Kennedy family. There's so much written about them and overcoming challenges. And these are people that have really significant things happen in our lives, and most of us do. That's called life. Let
me just do a little recap. So what Deb's sharing is with your wisdom, your pursuit of wisdom. A couple of her keys was the 5-second rule by Mel Robbins, iMind, Viktor Frankl autobiographies. See, when you become a student and become a lifelong learner, and wisdom becomes one of your key things, that it's like fuel, it's like food, it's like nutrition. It's something that it becomes infectious in all different areas of your life, and you really nurture curiosity. Right now on YouTube, you can go and learn. The one that I've been using as my model, but I'm branching off because it's been 23 out of the last 25 days, is Tim Ferriss, the 4-Hour Work Week, the 4-Hour Body, Titans. And it gives me goosebumps because I'm actually working out and listening to this, and I'm getting so excited. I want to take notes. And it's so we're inviting you today is overcoming challenges of learning and being curious, and make it playful. It's your life. And we're asking you just to design a wee bit, because if you do what she's saying, drink a little bit in the morning, move your head. I started the 50 squat challenge in Singapore, and it changed people's lives because they could be challenged to do 50 squats a day, make a little video of themselves, and it just led to more and more learning, more and more practice, more and more application. And so, Deb, I'm so grateful that you're able to share from such a depth of experience, because not many people I know have done 300 audiobooks.
Okay, so I
Nor,
was on my way there. I think I'm at 280, something like that. So
and,
just, I don't want to, like, I'm not, but
no,
I'm
no,
on my way there.
it's more of the point is it becomes a positive addiction. I'm suggesting, and so this idea of we can overcome challenges by up, down, around, left, right, 37 degrees, 63 degrees. It doesn't need to be right or wrong. And so now the last little topic that I wanted to talk a little bit, because we went through health, we went through wisdom, and it's wealth. And so when you hear about wealth, Deb, again, it's your wealth strategy or assisting people if they're stressed out about money, or they've got a mindset, it's a poverty mindset. What would be one or two recommendations? And as you speak, you might be speaking to yourself. You and I've actually run through investing chats, and we've talked about crypto in the past, and we've talked about small stocks. We're both curious in exploring that. So what would be one or two either resources that you're aware of, or mind hacks to assist people in having a more abundant, healthy relationship with wealth creation?
I think it's really being clear about what's important to you. And I do this with most of my clients. So there are some significant areas in our life that are important. Some people, it's family, or friends, social aspect, mental health, mental wellness. Obviously, if they're connecting with me, that's significant for them. Health and fitness, like you mentioned. So there's these main areas in our life, and finance is one. So I think that the often, and I've been working with a couple people pretty seriously about that, and it's really about the mindset. So a lot of people grow up in a scarcity mindset. There's not enough food. There's not enough time. You listen to people with their language skills. So if you start listening to yourself and how you're talking, and if there's not enough, the not enough, or less than, or not good enough, or these types of terms in our language, then that becomes who we are. It becomes what we attract often, versus an abundant mindset. I can always fit in another 10 minutes to listen to an audiobook, or 10 minutes I can cycle a little bit longer, or a little bit walk, or I've always got, a few minutes that I can text a friend and just say, hey, thinking about you, right? So an abundant mindset. So I think it's really important to identify your language in the beginning, whether it's finances or love, it's the same. It's a transferable skill, right? Relationships, connection. So look at what is really important to you, and look at also, I think, where you're putting your money. And when somebody walks in my home, they know immediately what's important to me. Dave, you've been here, right? You walk in and you see 2 bikes, you see books on the bookshelf, you see my guitars, you see the things that I do that are important to me. So that's where my money goes. And I think that it's really important to not that you have to count every penny, but that you create a different relationship. And we've had this conversation many times, is creating a different relationship with money. And that's what I did with, the stocks and all the conversations that we had, and being curious. I was just online yesterday. I don't do it every day like you multiple times, but the ones that you did recommend, they're going up a little bit, and
Crypto last night went up 11%.
Dave, why didn't you call me? You always tell me afterwards.
My son texted me at like 10:30 last night saying, check out crypto.
I don't actually think I have. I think I sold little bit that I did within an EFT, or I can't remember what it is, but it's, again, see the playfulness. So we all of a sudden we start getting playful about it. And listen, it's nice to have a little extra money put aside. And a lot of people don't have that. They have a different relationship with money, and there's a lot around fear and, will I have enough? And I just, one trip around the neighborhood, there are a lot of people living in certain houses, and rent is really high. But I think it starts with that self-worth. And rather than seeing I don't have, it's projecting what I can have, and having a strategy. Just like I said, I have a strategy for the course that I'm taking this year. I already know what's going on with that. And where I know where that money's coming from. Now, maybe it's on a different scale. Somebody really can't afford $1,000 course, right? But so you start building your knowledge base, because it's kind of like value, right? It's all relative. So if I have something you want, you're prepared to pay me more. If I have something to offer, but you don't want it, then it's not valuable at all. So I think it's really about valuing ourselves enough to find out what we do love or where our talents are. Initially, it just have to do with what you're good at. And maybe, like maybe you're good with numbers, but you don't want to be an accountant or, a bookkeeper or something. But it's getting the free. There's so much free. This is the thing about right now with all the hiccups that I have about internet usage. But there are so many things that are free. I've listened to probably 200 hours of free art, oil painting techniques. So there's so much free on there that you can start to build a knowledge base and have more to offer. But I think it all starts with the value. The more I value myself over time, the more my rate goes up. And yet I always will have a sliding scale, because in my heart, I want to be able to provide a service. Now I only have so many because I've, a certain lifestyle too. And I think we have to be comfortable talking about money and talking about our value. And it's an energy flow. And I know people that are I was talking to a client the other day, like terrified to go ask for a raise. Okay. So we go over, where's your value? Let's talk about the value and what is important to you, and what will that extra rate, how that will serve you in your life for the things that you want to do.
So let me recap that a little bit, Deb, because that was great. So folks, to really tap into your wealth, into your financial fitness, into your able to make more money, to have more value, there's an element of developing relationships. If you're starting out into a new career, you can go and be offering some services so that you can get mentored, you can get coached, you can have therapy. And there's different ways to add value. Like if you've got web design expertise, you could maybe do a deal with somebody so you can develop a following. And so there's an opportunity right now to practice so that your value goes up, that you've built a portfolio. There's an opportunity to have a new relationship with money, to study your relationship with money, study your parents' relationship with money. Know that you've probably got some of their habits, and you can consciously start to shift. This idea of think it, ink it, do it, and review it. One thing that you and I do, we write things. We love to take notes. We're encouraging you to write notes to yourself. It gives you greatest consciousness. You could start to track your inflows and outflows. This is a game that can be won. Everyone in this session today could become a millionaire in the next 5 years. I have no doubt about it. I've worked with people who've done it. It's just how committed or interested, curious, and able to look for ways to add value. Are there one or two books that you've read, Deb, about shifting mindset about money or shifting mindset about wealth creation that you might be able to share with our listeners today? And I'm really hoping some of them have been writing the notes. And in fact, I'm hoping that some might reach out to you for potential therapy or opportunities to collaborate, because that's something that unspoken tears, it's actually when you have a good cry, you often start to see clarity, and you start to see clearly. And perhaps they'll even think that there's an opportunity to offer some value, because that's one of the areas that's very exciting, Deb, as we don't necessarily know who will come into our realm. Yet when we have this peace and harmony and attraction, there's an opportunity to have an impact.
For sure. In terms of a book, the classic Think and Grow Rich, right? I mean, it's sort of like the basic version of that. And then you mentioned the 4-Hour Work Week with Tom Ferriss. I mean, that's another one. I love a lot of this stuff actually with Tony Robbins. He had a great book on called Money. It's a huge book. I've got it somewhere close by on a shelf somewhere, but it's like 600 pages or something like that. But it covers all the different aspects. And again, he interviewed a series of wealth creators. And you may not want to be that wealth creator. You may not want to do what it takes to have $1 million. Or like I know for years and years, we kept our business at a certain level. because we didn't want to have more employees and we would have had more revenue, but we didn't want to do that. We didn't want that lifestyle, right? So it's really, that's why I say that initial values and what's important to you, and knowing where the goal is, and having a plan for that. So, I mean, those books are, I mean, there's so many books out there. And I think the only thing that I always caution, there's so many gurus out there, and they'll say, you know, join up and do this with me. Well, those gurus, the ones that are making more money by selling the programs, versus are they actually, you know, in the ditch, and then they created that pathway for money creation, not just teaching how to, you know, because anybody, like, well, not anybody, but anybody who's done some reading and studying could teach how to make money. But are you making money teaching how to make money, or are you making money in another area that you love? So it's like, find that mentor of somebody that has had, you know, a real life struggle, and who is working in something that they enjoy doing and loving doing. And I think anything that you do that where you're exercising your brain, and I'm not talking about gaming or things like that, but anytime that you're learning something and then you're writing it down or you're sharing it with somebody else, you're nurturing your brain. Those, you know, we have like 1 trillion neurons in our brain. And when we're in a scarcity model, they're going to cluster. There's going to be a fear. There might be an opportunity. I know people that don't even apply to jobs, right? Because they're afraid that they won't get it. Well, who cares if you don't get it? I have a few clients right now where, and again, I don't tell them to do it. I make a suggestion, because it's around applying for jobs. Go in with the attitude that you don't want a job, you don't need a job, but you're just doing an exercise and you're applying to a job. And this client just yesterday said, I got called in for 2 interviews and I don't even want a job. Now what do I do? It's like, well, now you're just exercising, you know, that you said you're valuable. They've acknowledged that they think you're valuable. Now, if you don't want a job, then all you do is you write back and say, thank you very much, that I've considered the location, or I've just reconsidered. And at this time, I don't think it works for me, but I want to really thank you. I'm really grateful that you reached out. So you're exercising your brain all the time in gratitude and thankfulness and appreciation, just nurturing yourself. That's part of the wisdom piece, right? If you want something, if you want more money, there's an abundance of money in this planet.
Deb, thank you so much for your sharing today. Overcoming obstacles and challenges. You are an absolute legend in my mind for this. It's you are committed to excellence, personal growth, and service. And I really want to highlight that component of the service work that you do to assist people and to be able to serve different communities. And I guess if I have a last question as we bring our session to a close, and I really hope some people might review the notes of what Deb's been sharing today and put it into play in your health and wellness, into your wisdom process, into your wealth creation. What would be either a quote or someone that you have as a life philosophy, or your own personal life philosophy? In the next minute, maybe share a little bit of that. We put up your contact details. Anyone who might have some requirements or interest in learning more about therapy or psychotherapy, Deb might be an excellent resource for that. What would be maybe a philosophy to bring our session on overcoming challenges be?
You know, there's this who was it who said it? Jim Carrey, I think, said it. You know, you can fail doing what you don't like, so you might as well fail doing what you do love. So if there's a choice in what you're doing, you know, and you mentioned service and volunteering is very powerful, nurturing the soul. And when there's clarity in your soul and in your heart, then you attract opportunities in your life. And I think it is so important to, you know, for me to be an advocate of sharing our knowledge. And sometimes people keep things in, and I've been told several times that I say too much, and certain, like, why would you share it? Like, because I can't take it with me. A dear friend of mine died in 2006, and I'd said to her, if you have, I don't want you to go, but if you have to go, then I guess I have to live for both of us. And I've always kept that. And that's been a huge part, a huge motivation. If I'm a little tired or don't feel like it or question myself, it'll be like, what would Becky do? And what would Becky tell me to do? And so that has been a huge motivator. And I think sometimes if we can just get outside of ourselves, out of our head, and that's with the volunteering, the third, this isn't talk today, but the third part of healing, as I stated, is service. It's serving other people, and when you do that, you'll be a magnet. When you really care, and I've learned that from just a static part of, okay, I'm going to do this, and this, versus, well, let's crack open the heart and sit and hold sacred space for people. It's quite a trip. It's a real journey. So, Dave, I want to thank you for asking me to come in. I know you had a cancellation, so I hope that nobody was looking for that person and disappointed that person wasn't there. But I hope that if there is something that resonates with people listening today, is that you take action, because you can dream all you want, and until you take the first step, you're going nowhere.
Deb, thank you very, very much. And again, a piece on service, definitely something that it can be part of the healing heart. I do thank you very much for your service in so many different areas. Deb is a musician, an artist, an athlete, and somebody who has been on a journey of learning, sharing, and being of service. Thank you so very much. Unspoken Tears, Voice of Men 360, we wish you a fantastic year ahead. And please continue to explore possibilities to collaborate, to connect, and to make a positive contribution. Thank you very much, and have an absolutely brilliant day, week, and month ahead. Bye now.